Let's welcome once again Ruchir Sharma. He is Morgan Stanley Investment Management, Head of Emerging Markets and Chief Global Strategist. And Ruchir, what do you think? Where are we in terms of the trade talks, and what does it matter to the markets?
Well, I think the markets now basically is discounting a lot, which is that they think that we are now in a trade truce because of the feeling that President Trump needs a trade deal before the next election. I think what really happened this August was quite significant in that the escalation of the global trade war led to a rapid rise in recession fears. And I think that message really got to the White House and President Trump. And he's very sensitive, as you know, to what happens to the stock market in particular. So I think that we're basically now in a trade truce mode. And I think that sort of risk for now seems to be out of the way. And the market is largely pricing that in.
Having said that, if you think that this is something he's worried to do, what do you attribute his comments to last week? At the end of last week, he didn't sound like he was desperate for a trade deal.
Well, I mean, I think that's the usual back and forth in terms of what's going to happen in a trade negotiation. I think that there is a bigger picture here, which is the fact that we are in an extended period of a trade war. But I think that for the next 12 months or so, we are in some sort of a trade truce. So it's like this sort of cognitive dissonance. You've got to hold both the thoughts in your head, that we've got an extended trade war, but the next 12 months is, I think, a period likely to see more of a trade truce than an escalation in the trade war.
That's interesting. The next 12 months just happen to be between now and the election.
Yes.
So you think that this is all tied to the election? If President Trump wins re-election, the gloves come off again?
I think that no matter who wins, I think that, this sort of escalation is bound to continue in terms of what happens. I think there's been a fundamental reset in it. You can sense it in the public sentiment as well, in both the U.S. and in China. There's a fundamental reset here in the relationship. I don't think it's going back to where it was 5-10 years ago. And this is not just about trade. This is really about technology. That's really where the battle is going to be fought, because that's what is also something that China is relying on much more in terms of as its growth engine. And the U.S. realizes that that's a vulnerability as far as China is concerned with chips and other things that
You're
China
talking
imports.
about Huawei and ZTE, all of these situations. You think that those security concerns are legit, and maybe more importantly, will they stand if there is a trade truce? That's
right. I think that it's sort of parallel tracks going on currently in terms of it. We are very focused on tariffs and the market, but the tech war is happening in parallel. I just feel, of course, that as far as President Trump's concerned, his incentive is for the next 12 months to try and calm things down. But after that, no matter who gets elected, I feel that we see an escalation on both the fronts, particularly on the tech front.
Do you think that China intellectually, in terms of everything, the infrastructure of the higher education, are they ready to do things on their own? And if so, could they go could they match us technologically in AI and all these burgeoning industries right now? Do they have the wherewithal to do that, or do they still need to steal?
That's a strong, but I was there in China a couple of months ago.
What would you call what they do now? You think borrow is a better word? I mean,
I was there in China like a couple of months ago. And I think we had this discussion earlier too. What really strikes me there is the scale of the consumer tech revolution that's happening on the ground out there.
Right.
I mean, I've not seen anything like that anywhere in the world in terms of that you go into the department stores and you see the way the entire thing is run by technology. You see drone deliveries taking place out there.
In AI, they're actually ahead of us in some ways.
Well, people say that. Is that true?
Because they have so much so much data where they don't have any problem taking all the data from every person who walks by on the street and putting it in, so they're able to get ahead.
No, I think they're still very dependent as far as some key industries are concerned. So they're much more concerned about what's happening to Huawei, et cetera, because they are still very dependent on the semiconductor imports and chips, et cetera. So they are vulnerable to that. So I think it's the same thing going on, that they're vulnerable at one level. On the other hand, the consumer tech revolution that's taking place in China is for real. I've not seen anything like that anywhere.
Has our market kind of factored in this idea that even if there is a trade truce here, that we may be going toe-to-toe with security concerns? Has that been factored out and worked into the market prices here in our stock market?
No, I don't think so. I think that, the fact that the market keeps getting surprised by this periodically just tells you the fact that we are in this very long period of deglobalization, as I put it. And the deglobalization is not just about trade. It's got to do with technology as well. It's got to do with capital flows as well. That's a risk also which is rising, that at some point in time, what if you get a regulation out here, which, the Rubio-type regulation, which sort of prohibits American pension funds and other institutions from investing in Chinese securities? I think that risk is also very real. So we've got this multi-pronged sort of, battle going on. And I think this battle is set to continue after the election is over.